Hi plant buddies! So today we're going to be talking about when are our succulent babies big enough to separate from their mother plants. Now right here in front of me, this is called an Echeveria Regnoni Texas Rose. It looks a lot like my Echeveria Fleur Blanc, but this actually gets much bigger in size, about double to triple in size, you know, when it's very mature. Anyways, so when is the right time to separate our succulent babies? When they are planted in soil in the ground, you can leave them be as is, and they will all grow out, they will all get bigger and be mother plants of their own. But since all my succulents are planted in pots, I do need to separate them when they get a little too big, because if I don't, what happens, this is the mother plant, when they get too big, when they start to get about this size, and there's many of them, the mother plant then starts to suffer because there's only one root system, her root system. There's only one main root system that's supporting all of these succulents in this one pot. Don't mind my soil, that is diatomaceous earth, because I had to bring all my succulents inside recently and I just had to make sure that I had no bugs on them. Anyways, so when are they big enough to cut off from the mama plant? Okay, so if you can see the babies right there, you see the small babies right there, that's a small baby right here, and then there's some smaller ones inside. When they are that size, you want to keep them with the mother plant as long as possible, because they will actually grow faster attached to the main mother stem than if you were to cut them off now. If you were to cut them now, this one will probably survive, I'm not too sure, but these guys over here, at this size you can separate it from the mama plant, but it will grow a lot slower than if it was to grow on the main stem. And yeah, at this size you just want to keep it with the mother plant basically. Now when they get to about this size right here, or this one, or this bigger one, this is the time that you're gonna want to separate them from the main plant, because at this point the mama plant will actually start to lose bottom leaves, because all these babies are trying to feed off of her and her roots. And then these guys will also slow down in growth, because the nutrients that they're getting from the root system is not going to be enough to let them get larger. They will still get bigger, but it'll be a lot slower than if we were to cut them off now. As you can see right here, I've got some dried leaves. As you can see right here, their stems have already gotten woody. The stems are starting to get mature, so that means that it is ready to be beheaded. These guys over here, this one seems okay, but I don't know, I might cut it off. But these guys over here, chances are they'll most likely just dry out on you before they grow roots, while these guys, they'll grow roots for sure, as long as you give them the right conditions. And then what also happens when you cut, okay, let's actually start cutting and I'll talk while I cut. So as I said, this baby right here is now ready to be cut. So I have my clean shears right here, and we just cut enough so that you have a little bit of stem to plant in the soil. And then I'm gonna clean off some of the leaves. I'm just gonna put them here because we are gonna repot this after, because this planter right here, it's a plastic like disposable container, and I had to put tape here because there's already holes from all the wear and tear, because this was outside, you know, from the heat and the rain. And as you can see, there are already roots right there, so I really wouldn't have to wait too long for this to root, because it already has roots. I just basically have to wait for that cut to callus. Now I'm a little bit concerned here. It really looks like there's no problem at all. There's a little hole there. I don't know if it was rotting, but it saved itself or what, but I am going to go ahead and cut that off just to be absolutely sure that this succulent will be okay. And now this succulent is ready to be potted in its own pot. Now, you're gonna want to callus this for about, it's a small cut, so for about 2 to 3 days before planting in very dry, well draining soil. And then you would also, if you want to, because this is an extra step that I always take for my succulents. This is cinnamon powder. I like to put them on the cut ends of my succulents. If you guys didn't know, they say that cinnamon has natural antifungal properties that kill certain types of candida in the soil. So does it really benefit our succulents? I'm not too sure, but it doesn't harm my succulents at all. So helps dry the wound a little bit faster than it would if it didn't have any cinnamon powder on there, and it kind of acts as a little organic antifungal barrier. Do you need to? No, you don't have to. It's just an extra step that I like to take for my succulents. So just in case you guys, whoever's watching, if you are a newbie, a beginner that has never cut or planted succulent cuttings before, and then I said that those stems callus for about 2 to 3 days before planting them in very dry and well draining soil. This is an example of a cut succulent. This is an Echeveria subsessilis morning beauty that I have cut. This is an example of a succulent that has already been calloused and ready to be planted in soil. This has been callousing for about over a week now. Actually, there's already little roots right there starting to grow, meaning she is ready to be planted in soil. Guys, you don't really want to wait for roots to grow. You can, but you don't have to. You can just, after about 3 days, plant them in soil because they may dry out on you if they are kept out too long. But if you live in a cooler area, then that's totally fine. Anyways, this is what a callus stem looks like. It's completely dry. It's actually kind of hard when you press on it. And yeah, that's basically what you are looking for when you are trying to callus your succulent cuttings before you plant them in soil, okay? So now, guys, let's just continue cutting the rest of the bigger babies off so that mother plant here can get a little bit of a break and start nourishing herself again. So I'm going to cut this baby right here, despite it being still a little bit small. There's the mama plant. I'm gonna cut this off despite it not being as big as the rest, because as you can see, it's growing under the mama, so it's getting really squished under there. So this is not gonna grow very nicely anyway if I keep it under there. So that's one of the reasons why you would cut off a succulent baby that's still a little bit on the small side, but this can already survive on its own. Let's cut. And for the rest of them, well, those are the little babies left over that I am just going to leave on the mother stem for now because they are better off there anyway. This should allow them now to get a little bit bigger, a little bit faster than before, because we've now taken off their bigger siblings right here. How many did I get from this plant? I got about, how many cuttings? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6, 7. I got 7 babies from this. When I bought this, guys, I started with this size right here. And now it's given me this many babies. Another thing, guys, when you take cuttings from your main mother plant, you have to remember, just like these open cuts right here, you also made open cuts on the main stem from the mother plant when you cut them. Now for the next 2 weeks, it is very important for you guys to let these cuts callus. Make sure that it does not get wet, because if there is any moisture that gets into those open cuts, it could rot the entire plant, the main stem here, causing everything else to rot, and then you would have to cut everybody off if you catch it, to be able to save them. You can water the soil, but just make sure that this area does not get wet. So it's probably best to put it in a covered area if you keep your succulents outside. If you keep them inside the house, then there really shouldn't be a problem keeping it dry. Okay, so that's just an important tip that you should not forget. I also put cinnamon on these cuts, and after about a week when they have dried, I seal them with super glue, because my succulents are kept outdoors pretty much all year, and they are exposed to a lot of rain and a lot of sun, so I want to make sure that those cuts stay closed. So now we're also going to take this succulent right here out of the pot and actually repot it into a new pot. So let me go ahead and take this out. If there are any of you that are beginners and have never repotted succulents before, that have babies, oh, the roots are pretty in there, that have never repotted succulents with babies before, it is the absolute same thing as repotting succulents without babies. You just want to be extra careful with those babies because you don't want them to pop off like I did with this one. Let me try to grow that. Sometimes those do grow for me. Oh, there's another one. There's two that popped off. So guys, when they are that small, they're less likely to survive, but I have managed to keep them alive before. So there you go. I just took it out, just taking all the old soil off this root system that it has. And we are going to now put this in a new pot, and then also clean it up of any dried leaves that may have been there for a while now. There you go. And now we are going to put this in new soil in a better pot, terracotta this time, and not plastic. And there it is. I will be right back, guys, because I need to get scissors, because what I do when I repot succulents like this is see, I like to trim the roots. It promotes better root growth for the succulent. So guys, when you do trim roots like this, you have to remember that those are open wounds again. You want to give the succulent about a week to 2 weeks to grow new roots into its new soil before you give it any water, or the whole succulent can actually rot. Okay, so there she is, pretty much almost all cleaned up here. Just removing more dead leaves at the bottom there that I did not see earlier. Always check the stem for any signs of rot, and everything seems to be okay. After I repot this into new soil, it should start to grow better again, and the mama plant can start getting bigger again. I've filled in the soil, and the mother plant is standing, and she is perfectly fine and looks happy where she's at. Remember what I said, 7 to 14 days before you give this any water, it will be fine. Put it in a bright shaded area where it will not get direct sunlight while the roots try to grow new ones. Okay, because remember, we trimmed the roots. If you didn't trim the roots, then about 3 to 4 days later you can go ahead and water it if it is showing signs of underwatering. Okay, these little guys right here, remember to callus them for a good 2 to 3 days after you cut them. Just simply stick it into a pot like this with dry soil and there you go. I don't have much pots right now, so they're just gonna have to grow in here, or at least root in here until I have bigger pots. Just pretend, okay? Just pretend that they have been callous 3 days later and I'm sticking them in the soil. After I get off the video, actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull them all out and let them callus for a good 2 to 3 days, and then stick them back in the soil, okay? But I already had their pot ready. So guys, again, this is Christine from These Succulent Buddies. Don't forget, we have our official These Succulent Buddies Facebook page. I hope you guys can like and follow to get to get notifications for when I post my new videos and behind the scenes pictures and little snippet videos of what happens in my succulent garden behind the scenes. So again, this is Christine from These Succulent Buddies. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.